What's up, Profit Snipers? It's your boy Jaren here. Today we are going to be running through the algorithm setups, y'all, showing you guys how the algorithms form, what they mean, the strengths in them, how we identify them, and everything. So this is Monday, June 15th. So we're going to be running back from Monday. And this is the first thing we identified at this time. I'm going to pause it right here because there's a few algorithms that already presented itself right here. And let's break them down. The first algorithm I'm seeing here. So one of the first algorithms that I'm seeing right here is right here, this green buying channel, right? So we can see that this green buying channel is appearing. So this is showing that bulls are buying up, right? But then we are followed by a form of resistance, right? So in this yellow tapering algorithm right here, this is our form of resistance. So this is what the bears use to build liquidity in for a push down, right? So if they were trying to grab a shoulder right there, they would push it down in the yellow algorithm. But it is Monday and there's not enough liquidity, right? So that is a key for us though. We know that this yellow algorithm is right here, but we don't have enough liquidity for us to head down yet. Also, what I see down here is we have a magenta, right? Magenta is always our bullish liquidity algorithm for us to build liquidity in, break out, and grab liquidity off of. So we can see that the magenta algorithm also began to present itself when we got that first form of selling at the top right there, because we see that the selling was restricted only to the bottom of this magenta and it couldn't push further down. So from there on, we identified a orange buying channel, right? So in this orange buying channel, we want to put it at the previous high of where we left. So the previous high is this last candle up here, right? So over here is our previous high level. So we put that same channel just like that. So we can identify that this is our orange buying channel. We have our green buying channel. We have our bullish liquidity building in the magenta. And we have the activation of our orange buying channel forming on this 5-minute chart. The main thing we're looking at is a breakout of this yellow algorithm, right? For us to push up, break out, us continue to push up higher and higher, right? And that would allow us to still have left shoulder liquidity over here, but it would still allow bears to push up to a higher price in which they want to get in so they can sell it from there, right? So bulls can push up and bears could want price up as well. So we are currently in a orange buying channel. So within this buying channel, we do not want to get caught shorting because this is our orange buying channel. We want to short when we get a possible break of our buying channel, and we want an activation of our strongest selling channels to the downside. So now that we know we're in our orange buying channel, we shouldn't be looking at taking any short positions, right? When we do identify a form of resistance, right, we want to identify that as magenta, right? So right here, right, let me pause it. We can see that what the bulls did was build liquidity in that magenta algorithm right there. So bears were trying to push price down in the magenta, but bulls were grabbing liquidity off of it with this head and shoulders pattern, grabbing that right shoulder liquidity on the break of magenta. And let's play that out. And this is how you can manage, right? So from us activating our orange buying channel, from there we want to see spurts of our strongest green buying channel trying to get to our high of our orange buying channel. So we want this green buying to push up sufficiently till we tap orange, which is our highest level that we can buy to in the orange buying channel, unless we was to break out in the green and push up higher and higher, right? But we couldn't break past the orange algorithm right here, right? You can see we tapped up there. And it's the same thing. From there, I'm looking for the bulls to build more liquidity in, if you guessed it, in this magenta algorithm, right? But on the breakout of the orange, we know, hey, the bulls probably can't push this up anymore. Right? So from there on, if the bulls were in control of this, what the bulls would need to do is they would need to grab that right shoulder liquidity, right? So we get the head there. You see that left shoulder liquidity up there in the magenta. The bulls will have to come up here, grab that right shoulder, and break us out like that. So the trade will be for the bulls on the breakout of this magenta, which happens to coincide with the breakout of our 756.09 level right here. And that's how we can get some of the key levels sometimes on algorithm breaks. So now we know that we're selling in magenta, right? The magenta algorithm is now a form of resistance because we are selling in the magenta algorithm. So as long as the bears want to sell and the bulls want to sell in magenta, then we can start to get good downside momentum, especially if we don't get that right shoulder grab and we don't continue to activate our orange buying channel and our green buying channel on the right shoulder breakout. And if we do not get that, magenta will show that it is starting to become resistance, and maybe the bulls want to sell this so they can buy it back at a lower price as well. If the bulls want to take a call, their right shoulder liquidity is resting above this level, right? And this is still Monday. What are the bears targeting? As we sold down, what we're looking for in our selling is the same thing we're looking for in our buying, right? So we're looking for our strong green selling channel like that. And if we don't get our strong green selling channel, and we'll probably get our orange selling channel like this right here as a form of resistance. So this is just liquidity building. This is when the market is just building liquidity. You don't necessarily want to trade, right? So now we know that the bears are at their resistance. So what the bears are trying to do is they're trying to activate their selling channels, right? So they want to activate resistance here. They want to activate some resistance right there, resistance right here, and this be the bottom of the orange selling channel. So if they was to get price up here, right, the bears will be targeting price to the low side of this orange selling channel, because this is basically their risk to reward metric. So if you go short right here, and you know that this is your resistance up here, right, and you can set a wide stop here, break above there, and then you could target the downside of this orange algorithm, right? So you got your stops up there. And we know for us that the real trade is on the breakout of this yellow algorithm, which we identified on Monday. And this was the next trading day. So this was Tuesday, the next day. Algorithms that were identified to us on Monday are still coming into play the next day. That's why the algorithms are key, right? We could even see with us grabbing this liquidity right here in this yellow algorithm, we'll be looking for a head and shoulders pattern for us to grab this right shoulder liquidity on the breakout of this yellow algorithm, giving us a nice risk to reward metric on the breakout of the yellow algorithm to the downside, because this is the resistance of the orange selling channel right here. So we shouldn't break out further than this price right here. And this is even a better entry up here if you were seeing this yellow algorithm, right? If you've seen magenta and you see yellow algorithm and you see magenta and you see all these resistance zones targeting the bottom of this orange selling channel, right? And so for now, we were just in this dominant selling channel with the activation of the green selling channel pushing it down even stronger. And we sold for a little bit in this orange selling. Is now we're identifying a dual algorithm setup, which I talked about in the previous video. When we get into a dual algorithm setup with us activating the same channels that we did to push us down. So we activate that orange buying to build liquidity and trap bulls in, and then we build liquidity in yellow further so we can grab that right shoulder liquidity on the breakout again of the yellow algorithm using the orange again as our metric. And we'll notice that what the market is going to try to do is they're going to try to stop a lot of bears out on this orange algorithm, because this is where the bears stop losses are lying. So if price was to break out of the orange selling and fake up and then break back down, it would have stopped a lot of bears out and faked a lot of bulls out to the upside. Like here, we see the bears are trying to push price down. Boom, boom, boom. They want to grab this right shoulder liquidity off of this level right here using this orange algorithm as its setup. And it's still Tuesday, 3 o'clock. We could get an end of day move here. But yeah, see, we got that nice, it's 3:15 now. Nice, a little 1.2 point move down to the downside. And then what we're doing is we want to see that activation of our strongest selling channel again right here, like this, right? So you can see we got stopped. A lot of people would have got stopped on trying to activate green here, because green is our dominant channel, and that's when bears really, really want to step in. So now we can see this is the metric for the stop. If the bears are underneath this yellow algorithm, they're in control. But if the bulls want to try to target some left shoulder liquidity here on the break back up to the upside, they most definitely can target that right shoulder liquidity right here on the breakout of the magenta. And that's what the bulls were trying to do. And they ultimately failed on that right shoulder breakout, as we can see right here, right? And the market, what the market also did, it pushed up, right? Stopping bears out off of this orange algorithm, right? Stopping a lot of bears out, faking some bulls to the upside, but it was another resistance right here in this magenta algorithm, which originally gave us the downside from the beginning. As we can see from this magenta algorithm over here, it carries on all the way over here, and that gave us our downside, and it gave us the activation of our strongest selling channel off of the magenta, given, and the bulls were targeting, and the bears were targeting down here as well as the bulls, because this was a strong support zone that the bulls wanted to get to and the bears wanted to get to. And that's what I had sent in the Discord too, that we can get a possible bounce at that level. So again, this is just more liquidity building, right? So we got liquidity building in yellow right here, right? So this is still being controlled by the bears for now, because they're still operating in that dual algorithm setup, grabbing liquidity with the orange and the yellow algorithm, right? And the bears are also activating another orange selling band right here, right? That just got broken out of. They retested that magenta, which we identified earlier from right here, that original selling point, and then they got that strong green selling channel to the downside, right? And we can see they're trying to push it down even further off of the orange selling channels, right? If the bulls want to test that breakout of the right shoulder liquidity right there. And that's why we got that strong move to the downside right there, is because a lot of bulls were entering right here as a support. But you see this channel right here, this green selling channel. When we are in the green selling channel, right, this is the last channel that you want to be trying to buy calls in, because everyone who's going to buy calls in this green selling channel is going to be fuel to the fire for the downside. And I think the next morning we ended up gapping off of this support zone right here, which was previous resistance. Yeah, we ended up gapping up. We came up, we retested our orange selling channel, our magenta selling channel, and you can see we got that little bit of downside. But now this is magenta support. So if the bulls want to grab this right shoulder liquidity, this is where the magenta algorithm is going to start showing its control, right? But the bulls want to grab this right shoulder liquidity. The bears want to stay in that green, and they want to stay strong in this orange selling channel that they identified now, right? Because that's their selling channels. If price is being controlled by the magenta algorithm, then we will know it, because price would not be able to go any further than the downside of magenta. It won't be able to grab the green algo, or it won't be able to push down in the orange algorithm, because price is being controlled by the magenta algorithm, which is a bullish control algorithm, and they're attempting to grab the right shoulder breakout in their green buying channel, pushing price up, trying to grab the right shoulder liquidity off of the break of 749.14. And that's another way that we get our levels, right? We get our key levels off of algorithm breaks, right? So that's how we can know. Let's take calls above 749.14 because this is the right shoulder liquidity grab, right? And we can see right now, throughout these algorithm setups, it just looks like chop. We got resistance with our magenta above, right? The bulls can't grab that right shoulder breakout over here, trying to grab that left shoulder liquidity. They keep failing, right? And the bears are just kind of getting ate up. But what I will be looking for is, hey, if we can get a push above 749.14 for the bulls on this breakout of magenta with the activation of the green buying channel, that will be a great trade, right? And you have your stop loss right underneath the break back in to the magenta algorithm down here, because that's where the bullish stops are. So if you break down below that level, you will be forced to stop out like that, right? So that's why you get faked out on upside movements and breaks out of magentas. Especially that was a Monday, right? So we know that people wanted to take profits, right? It was a short week, Thursday. Then we went off Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Monday came back around. People wanted to take profits, and we know that we were still building liquidity throughout the week. In that yellow last week, which left us a clue for the next week, right? So we see this yellow algorithm. All we're gonna try to do is grab liquidity off of the yellow algorithm again. If the bears are still in control of this downside movement, right, we will be restricted by the yellow algorithm. And we have all of these algorithms within us. So the algorithms can also show you wedges, right? So you can see this this liquidity wedge forming right here with the yellow algorithm and this green algorithm, which is also a bullish control algorithm, right? And you guys will get keys every day to the understanding of these algorithms, right? As you can see, they are the key to the market, right? They allow us to see what's going on. They allow us to see who is controlling price in the current range, and they allow us to see where the liquidity zones are. Like we see this beautiful left shoulder liquidity over here that just looks like it needs to be grabbed by the bears in this yellow algorithm, right? And those are things that we can just prepare for when we can't understand the algorithms and understand to trade for ourselves that the bulls were in. So if you see to these lows, right? So this is the magenta algorithm. This is where the bulls are just selling down in, right? Let me zoom out for y'all. The bulls are just selling down in the magenta algorithm, right? So they're selling down in this large selling channel, and what they are attempting to do is get a breakout, right? A breakout of this magenta channel like this on that right shoulder breakout, right? So we can see liquidity is resting up here. Liquidity will be on the right shoulder breakout of this magenta right there. And you can see price is still being controlled by the magenta algorithm right here. And right here, we actually tested the bottom of the magenta algorithm, which this was the head that we identified. And then the bulls began to push up, right? And this is why you have to look at the channels on a larger time frame. I just have to show you guys this on the 5-minute chart, right? So this is our right shoulder liquidity grab level, right, at 736.97. So we can know, hey, once we get a breakout of this magenta algorithm on the breakout of 736.97, and then we already in our green buying channel, then we can possibly go, right? We can possibly run it up if we are on that on the 30-minute time frame, because that's our larger structure, right? So we come down and we know, all right, this is our right shoulder liquidity grab right here, right? So we set our stops right below these levels down here, and we get our breakout above these levels, right? So these yellow levels are resistance. blue levels are resistance. Once we can get a breakout of those resistance levels, setting our stops above those resistance levels, those are automatic goals, because you have a lot of people who are trying to short the market at these levels, and all they are is our liquidity, while we are in our strongest green buying channel right here, which nobody sees, right? But we see it on our 30-minute, right? We see that from this wick up here, from this wick down here, it gave us an activation of our strongest green. Now that gives the bulls the opportunity to protect, right? So we got the activation of our strongest green buying channel right here, right? That's our second buying channel. If you can see it already, you can see it, right? Our second buying channel is up in this orange, right? This is our orange buying channel. So we can see from this low, that's where we bounce from. So that's where I'm going to put my orange buying channel right there. And I know that I can put the high of my orange buying channel around that level right there. That leads us up to exactly where we are today. So I mentioned it before, these yellow algorithms are what we are using to grab our downside liquidity, right? So we can see we got one right there, we got one right there, right here, and right here, right? So if the bears do want to attempt grabbing that left shoulder liquidity to that downside, grabbing that right shoulder like that, they can most definitely do that on the breakout of the yellow algorithm. And it's a key algorithm right here that a lot of people are not going to see, but if you can see that, you have skill, right? So let's look forward to that. But another algorithm that we see up here, right, is our magenta algorithm, right? So our magenta algorithm is right here. It left us some liquidity for if the bulls do want to grab that left shoulder liquidity up there in that magenta algorithm to that upside. So this is first a resistance, right? And you have our second strongest selling channel in the orange coming out as a form of resistance. Two, but what the bears are lacking is a activation of a stronger selling channel in that green, right? So that's what the bears need if they do want to push price down. Now, if bulls want to grab this shoulder liquidity off of this magenta right there, and we see how we are selling down. You see that magenta algorithm right there, and you see how we are selling down in this orange algorithm right here, right? We can see the orange algorithm coming out right there. But what the bulls need to do is they need to focus on trying to grab that left shoulder liquidity, right? So if they want to keep selling down in magenta, down until they found a support level, and then they start basing off of this resistance zone, making the support, breaking us out of the dominant selling channel that the bears are in, giving us our head structure, then us attempting to grab that right shoulder liquidity on the breakout of here, and us testing to break out all-time highs up there, right? So it's a lot of things to get to before we get to the all-time highs, but they may be coming soon, and be on the lookout if you are shorting this too much. But I hope this video really helped you understand the algorithms a little bit better, man. I'm doing my best to teach you this skill so you can teach your kids and they can teach their kids, and it can become a generational skill that everybody in the family knows, and we can make this our true source of income day to day. And if that's something you're looking forward to, come tap in with us over at Cali Sun Investment, Profit Snipers. You know, we trading every day, locking in every day. And I hope y'all are truly learning from us. But y'all have a great day, and y'all keep studying. Peace out.